Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kevin Galetz, and I'm an Industry Education Council Coordinator working with the Regina District Industry Education Council and SunWest School Division. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce Kayla Truman, who is a dance instructor and owner of Mountain View Dance Academy in Cochrane, Alberta. Kayla is originally from Rosetown, Saskatchewan, and graduated in Calgary after her family moved there, where she furthered her education at the University of Calgary. She will talk to us about her work as a dance instructor and what it's like to operate your own business. Just a reminder before we begin, this session is being recorded and will appear on the RDIEC YouTube channel for you or others to view in the future. We'd also like to request any students who watch this session to go to the website at www.rdiec.ca and complete the student survey that can be found at the top of the web page. Completion of this survey gets your name in a monthly draw for a $50 gift card. Again, the website is www.rdiec.ca. If you have any questions for our presenters throughout or after the session, please type them in the chat box. Once again, welcome, Kayla. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, my name is Kayla. I grew up in Rosetown, Saskatchewan. Oops. From there, I moved to Fort McMurray and then eventually Calgary. And I currently live in Cochrane with my family, with my husband, Colin, and I have a little girl, Kaya, who's 2. And we had a baby, Camden. He's 4 months old now. So I'm a mom of 2 little kids, and I also run Mountain View Dance Academy. This is going to be our 6th year of the studio. So yeah, my 6th year running a business, which has been a super interesting, amazing journey. I definitely love what I do for sure. So I'm a Royal Academy of Dance certified ballet instructor. The Royal Academy of Dance is a governing body that is in London, England. And so I did all of my ballet exams growing up through them. And then when I was in university, I actually trained through the RAD to become a ballet teacher, a certified ballet teacher with the RAD. I also have my acrobatic art certification, which is an Alberta company, but they're now an international governing body for acrobatic dance. So I'm also certified in that. And I did do a degree at the U of C, Bachelor of Communication and Culture. I kind of had a long journey in university because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to finish with, but I actually went into university in the Faculty of Medicine thinking maybe I would want to pursue, becoming a doctor, but it just didn't end up that way for me. It wasn't something that I was passionate about. And so I transferred and thought, okay, maybe I'll be a school teacher. And that also wasn't quite for me. So I pursued the communication and culture degree, which was a great fit. And it actually has come in very handy in running a business for sure. Communication skills are very, very important, as I will touch on. So that's a bit about me, and I'm sure you can probably hear my kids. They're upstairs with my mom right now. So I have a very busy and full life as a mom and a business owner. So my job description, I am the owner of the studio. I am also the director, which means I run all the behind the scenes administration and planning of the studio. And I'm also an instructor. So a bit about the job description. So as the director of the business, I do all of the scheduling, all of the planning behind the scenes. Anything that's up and coming, I have to think about how I want to put that out there and market it to my customer base in Cochrane. I have to plan the communications that are going to go out about that. Say it's an event, like say it's our Nutcracker that we always do in December. I have to think, months ahead how I want that to be launched to the public with different email campaigns, different Facebook and Instagram ads, things like that. So it's a lot of planning ahead. That's a big part of my job. Promoting is a huge part of my job, with advertising. I also do all the website design. I have learned along the way how to do web design, so I've done my own websites. I try to do kind of a new one every year, every 2 years. As a small business owner, I also do all of the billing. So I charge my clients, I send invoices, I pay my instructors, payroll, I do bookkeeping. So it's a lot of that kind of business side as well as the director. I communicate with my staff a lot. I have 7 instructors who work for me, and I have an administrator who works at the front desk as well. So I'm in a lot of constant contact with all of my teachers and my staff. And what else? So that's a bit about being the director. I guess I should say I do a lot of emails as well. I get probably 10 to 20 emails a day that I have to respond to. So I try and keep on top of that. Otherwise, it adds up quite quickly. So then I'll go into a bit about being a dance instructor, which is how I started out in this industry. I started out when I was actually in high school in Fort McMurray in grade 11 and 12. I taught dance at the studio that I was dancing at. And that is kind of how I started out as an instructor. From there, when I moved to Calgary, I started teaching at a studio that I taught at for many, many years. I taught there for, I think, almost 8 years. And so I kind of worked my way up the ranks and I started teaching just a few classes a week. And then by the time I was done university, I was teaching 6 days a week and doing choreography and also working in the front desk. So I was working at that studio in a very full-time capacity, which was amazing. And I learned so much about the behind the scenes of running the business. As well, I was able to kind of develop and grow myself and my skills as an instructor over those years of working at that studio. So I'm very grateful for that time. So about being an instructor, there's class planning that goes on before you even teach a class. You're planning ahead of what you want to accomplish with that group of students. You are teaching and working on choreography. So if you're preparing for a show or preparing for competitions, it requires the instructor to be creative and think of choreography that goes to music and think of costuming that goes along with that, which is a really fun part of the job. I love the creative side for sure. Another aspect of my job that I really love is preparing my students for ballet exams. They were something I really, really enjoyed as a dancer growing up. So every year you prepare for another level of your exam. And there's certain skills and exercises that you have to complete. And then you go in front of a Royal Academy of Dance examiner and they mark you and kind of rank you in 3 different marks. So you can get a pass, a merit, or a distinction. And so it's just always such a joy to prepare my students for those exams and to see them go in and then feel successful when they come out and get their mark. So that's another part of my job as an instructor that I really love as well. I think that's all about the job description. Okay, so a little bit about the skills, traits, and personality that you need to have in this career. So of course, as a dance instructor, you have to be knowledgeable and trained in dance. So I would definitely recommend having some kind of a certification behind you, whether it's Royal Academy of Dance, Acrobatic Arts, Al Gilbert, or there's just so many. ADAPT is another really good one in Canada for jazz and tap for sure. There's also Canadian Dance Teachers Association. There's many different governing bodies, but I would definitely recommend pursuing some kind of higher training in dance other than just your own experience as a dancer. It's always good to have a certification behind you. But yes, you do also have to have the experience of being a dancer and have to know how to dance yourself to be a dance instructor. To be an instructor, you have to have leadership skills for sure. You are the leader of those children. You're their mentor, essentially. And for many of those students, you teach them for a long time and you kind of grow that relationship over the years and you really do become a mentor to them. I know many of my dance instructors have made a huge impact on my life and were definitely mentors to me. As a dance instructor, you have to understand how to educate youth, how to be inclusive when you're instructing your students, how to teach safely by doing progressive training. So starting at the beginning rather than starting at the end of a step. I know a lot of students come in and they want to learn the hardest thing, right? But you have to, as an instructor, be able to break things down and teach in progressions for sure. Dance also has a huge musical component. So having a knowledge of music and an understanding of different time signatures and musicality is very important to be a dance instructor. So some of the traits, I would say customer service driven is huge. And I learned a lot about that when I worked at the Calgary studio while I was in school and doing the administration. So customer service is huge in any business, but I found very much in the dance industry, it's very important. Your clients are everything, and loyalty over the years. You want to kind of build that trust both ways and keep people coming back for sure. So customer service is key. So as a business owner, some of the traits you have to have are just kind of general executive functioning skills. So you have to be able to be organized, driven, self-motivated, good with scheduling yourself, and keeping on top of yourself really is a huge one. Just that kind of self-motivation piece is key. Networking and relationship building is a big one as well. So a lot of times we'll go to events like competitions or different performances or conferences, and networking is a really big part of being a studio owner as well and kind of making your mark in the dance industry. Being creative is huge, and one of the reasons I really love what I do, because I get to kind of create the vibe of my studio. I get to create the events that happen. I get to create and think about what the theme is for the recital and what the costumes will look like and what the studio itself will be decorated like and what my studio brand will look like, you know, from marketing and Instagram and Facebook and the logo and the colors. And so all of that, the website, I really love that side of it. And even graphic designing, I've learned to love that as well. So that's all like a creative side of the business that I have learned to love. As a business owner, yeah, you have to definitely have some tolerance to risk. And that was kind of the biggest jumping off point for me in going off on my own after working at a studio for so long, was the risk involved and the risk of failure and the risk of it not working out. So I definitely think you have to have a tolerance to risk if you're going to open a business of any kind. But that was a big thing for me, was I was a little bit scared for quite a while. And one of the reasons I kind of fell for my husband was he was really motivating and encouraging me to go off on my own. And yeah, he really made me believe that I could do it. So that's a really sweet story for me and my husband before we got married. It was really one of the things that made me love him even more. And I guess another trait is knowing your values. So as a small business, you really have to kind of shape your brand around what your values are. So that's kind of important as well. So knowing yourself and what you value. Being flexible is very important, not just in the dance sense of being flexible, but also being able to juggle things and kind of figure out, okay, what's most important right now and what can kind of wait to be dealt with later. So I have found that super important, especially now that I have children. it's even more so important to be able to say, okay, that one's not quite as important today. I'm going to put that off while I'm dealing, doing some things around the house or just playing with my kids, and I'll deal with that later. So being able to be flexible with yourself and with your schedule, it's very important. I'll jump ahead now to our facility. So I rent a space within a community hall. And it just really worked out. I was renting the main hall of this building, the Frank Wills Memorial Hall in Cochrane. They're a really lovely board-run community hall. And we just had such a great relationship. And I noticed that the whole east side of their building, they called it their meeting rooms, and they just really weren't used that much. And so almost 4 years ago now, I just approached the board and put in a proposal to build out the east side into 2 dance studios. And they loved my proposal, and we had such a great rapport and business relationship that it just kind of worked out. And they said, yes, go ahead, build it out. And so I have a lobby with some bathrooms on the main level and then 2 dance studios upstairs. And I'm very lucky to have a husband who's super handy, and my dad also is very handy with construction and things like that. So between the 2 of them, they built a professionally sprung floor for dance, which is ideal because you don't want to be dancing on just a regular floor. It can really hurt your knees. So they put in a nice sprung floor. We have bars on the wall. We have hung mirrors on the wall. I also have some nice speakers, a Bose speaker system. We have a lot of props. So for acro, we have like acro mats. We have scarves and wands and shakers and things like that for our young classes. So yeah, we have the full dance studio setup. Okay, so some of the rewards of being a business owner and a dance instructor. So working with the next generation of dancers and dance lovers, I think that's the biggest thing for me, is kind of sharing my passion for dance with the next generation. And for people who love dance, so a lot of these students, their parents love dance, their grandparents love dance. And so just kind of surrounding myself with people who love dance is really rewarding. Building relationships with my students is very, very special as well. I have a lot of students who I've taught for many, many years who actually I have one student who I taught since she was 7, and now she is teaching at my studio. And so actually several of my teachers I've taught over the years, and now they're teaching for me, which it's like full circle, and it's wonderful because I really get to know who they are, teaching them for so many years. And yeah, and they understand how I teach and what I would expect, and it's really wonderful. So dance for me is something that is so wonderful for mind, body, and soul, and I just love that I'm able to kind of give that gift to the youth. Especially today, I find youth are just so bogged down with like mental health stuff, and just life seems a little bit more crazy than when I was growing up with cell phones and things like that and social media. And so I find dance is just good for the soul. And so I love that I can kind of bring that happiness to students. Promoting friendships is a really big part of what I believe as a dance instructor. And some of my very best friends in life are my dance friends from growing up. And so I really actively try to create situations where students can make friends in class and bond. So that's a big important part of it for me, and it's very rewarding to watch them become close friends over the years. And then just building a student's passion and skills. I think it's really important for students to have something that they're good at and something that they love. And so that's super rewarding to see them develop as dancers and become super talented and have something that they're amazing at and passionate about. So as a business owner, there are definitely challenges and stressors, and as an instructor as well. So on the business side, It's definitely a 24/7 career. So it's not something that you get to kind of leave behind. It's always in your mind because it's your baby, right? It's all on you. And even if you have staff and help, it's nobody else's baby, it's yours. So it's definitely on your mind all the time, which can be very draining because there are no breaks from it. But if you're passionate about it, it's not so bad. So I find I'm still passionate about it, and it's definitely 24/7, but it's still good because I love what I do. I find for me the challenges were kind of learning the business side. So the taxes and the bookkeeping and that kind of a thing I found was more of a pain in the butt and not something that I wanted to necessarily do. But again, it's my baby, nobody else's responsibility. So it is my responsibility. Um, okay, and then more on the instructor side. No, I guess this is more business side. So client issues definitely come to me. If they have any problems, they can talk to the instructor, but as the business owner, it definitely falls to me to kind of resolve any kind of issues between instructors or students or between two students in the class. I'm kind of the one in the middle, just negotiating things and helping people work things out. Thankfully, I have amazing staff and really wonderful students, so there's not really ever very many issues, but it is always in the back of my mind to kind of be prepared for any issues that do come up, because it is my job as the director and owner of the studio to kind of handle that. Yeah, and then I guess as an instructor, you just have the same kind of issues that and challenges that any teacher would have, just classroom management, having difficult students, maybe behavior issues. Yeah, just anything that can come up in a normal classroom comes up in a dance classroom as well. So just kind of managing those. Thankfully, like we're up and moving and it's active and it's creative. So, and it's fun. So we don't often have too many issues, which is really great. Oh, I guess another stress could be leading up to competition time. There's crunch times in dance where you're, you know, on a deadline and you have to finish your choreography, and maybe the students aren't practicing enough and they aren't remembering their choreography, and yet they're about to go on stage in less than a month. There's things like that that happen that are very stressful for sure, because as an instructor, you want to be putting your best work up on the stage. Your students are representing you and your studio, so you want them to be doing their best, but sometimes they have other things in their mind or in their lives that are preventing them from maybe working their hardest or practicing. So that can definitely be stressful, as well as an instructor. Okay, so as a business owner, there's no fixed salary for sure. It just kind of depends on how small or large your business is, and it's kind of a motivating factor as a small business owner. The kind of, in theory, the harder you work, the bigger your business could become and the more money you could make, with other factors in consideration, like where you're located, if you have more clients that you can draw from, things like that. I will say the past 2 years with COVID have been very difficult. So I've noticed pretty much a 50% drop in my client numbers and therefore my salary. So things have really been hit hard with COVID. Thankfully, there have been a few grants and things like that, but they really don't come close to the loss that my business has taken in the past 2 years. And like I said, I'm only six. This is going to be our 6th year, but each year I had seen growth, year upon year. So it's kind of disheartening. The past couple of years have been a little bit disheartening, just seeing my business take a hit, but I know that it's COVID, and once we're kind of out of the thick of it, it's going to come back. So that kind of keeps me motivated to just keep going and doing my best. Um, What else can I say about salary? So as a dance instructor, it really depends. Most dance instructors are contractors, so they are independently running under a dance studio. So they have an hourly wage that kind of ranges from probably $20 an hour up to, I would say, probably $50 an hour is the top range for an instructor. There are probably some that make more, but I think 20 to 50 is kind of the average range in Alberta anyway. And so as an independent contractor and a small business, there's no holiday pay time. What else? There's no benefits. Unless you are working as an employee at a studio, you may have some benefits offered to you, but the vast majority, like I said, are independent contractors and thus don't have any benefits. The work hours are very flexible, can be heavy during the busier times and then slow or lighter during the slow times. So this is just kind of talking about my education. So like I said in the intro about me, I have my certificate in ballet teaching studies from the Royal Academy of Dance. And when I took this program, I was in university. It was a 2-year program, and it was a distance learning program. Except for twice a year, we would meet in person with an examiner. And so there would be a group of us, everyone in that year would meet, and we would be examined on our dancing ability and our ability to teach and break things down, teach safe progressions, our musicality, anatomy, knowledge of anatomy. So all of the different aspects we were examined on twice a year. And then the distance learning side of it was more research and essay writing and things like that. So it was a really wonderful program, and I'm really glad I did it. On top of that, we also had a mentor who we would work with, and I'm actually friends with my mentor to this day, although while I was in the program, she was very tough, and I did not ever think we would be friends, but once I graduated the program, she kind of kept me under her wing, and we're still in contact today. She's an amazing woman her name is Mrs. Yap. She danced for the Royal Ballet in London before moving to Canada, and has a really amazing history of teaching all across Canada, from Winnipeg to Calgary, and now she lives in Vancouver. And so she would come and watch my classes, and I would go and watch her, and she would give me lots of feedback. And so it's definitely been a great mentorship over the years. So as a Royal Academy of Dance ballet instructor, we are required to do 30 hours of professional development every year. And so they do offer lots of courses that we can take just to kind of keep up with our technical knowledge, which is great. And we can also do online learning or different courses from different governing bodies and things like that. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree from University of Calgary. This past year during COVID, I did a professional development course from Dance Studio Owners Association, which was a really, really great program. I learned a lot about marketing and how to grow my studio, how to get more students to enroll. So I found it was very helpful, and I hope to continue to implement all the things I learned in that program after COVID. I can hopefully get some more students. And definitely a big part of my journey has been learning as I grow. So I started very small with 30 students, and every year I've had to learn more about accounting, more about marketing, more about websites, more about just every side of the business. And it's been great to learn as I go. This is just a little blurb, kind of touched on a lot of it already, but yes, I began dancing in Rosetown. I had an amazing teacher there named Jewel Billett. It's actually her birthday today, so shout out to Jewel. We always felt extremely blessed to have Jewel as our first dance mentor. She was just incredibly creative and talented. So I owe a lot of kudos to Jewel. We also danced with Lynn Glassford, who was an amazing teacher as well. I traveled to Eston and I took ballet exam training with Jules, actually her instructor, Caroline. And I would do exams out in Eston, and then there came a time where I was just kind of beyond Eston, and so I went to Saskatoon and danced there under Hazel Ann at Le Dance and did some exams there. And that was all before grade 11, because in grade 11 I moved to Fort McMurray. And I continued dancing there and did up to my advanced exam in Fort McMurray. And then when I moved to Calgary, I kept going actually and put myself through to do my advanced 1 exam. And that was the last exam I did. And by then I was in university and decided that I wanted to finish my degree in communication and culture. So I changed my major. And I was also taking my RAD program at the same time. So I was a very busy student at that time. I was taking university and I always took kind of the full-time load. I was working as well, teaching dance, usually at least a couple of times a week, doing choreography on the weekends as well. And then I was also doing this program, the Certificate in Ballet Teaching Studies. So I had other essays and things to do. I was definitely a very busy girl at that time. And then once I got kind of later in my degree, I started working doing administration for that studio as well. And I really learned so much behind the scenes of running a studio. And I'm very grateful for that time. It was just very eye-opening, and I did learn a lot that I still use today in running my own business. Yeah, and then after I graduated, I met Colin, who's my now husband, and I decided to kind of take that risk and go for it and start my own business. And that is how Mountain View Dance Academy started. And just a little story about the name. I lived on Mountain View Crescent in Rosetown. And my parents actually were born in, I think, Mountain View County, Herschel, I guess. And it's called Mountain View County, I believe. So it was just kind of a cool name that meant something to me. And Cochrane obviously has a great view of the mountains. So that's where the name came from. So opportunities. So I guess kind of like after owning a business or after being a dance instructor, what could you do further with it? And there's really endless opportunities in this industry. It's a huge multi-million-dollar industry in Alberta alone. There's so many different aspects to the dance industry. There's always a market for children's lessons, for sure. And being a small business owner can just lead to so many different avenues. You can open another business, or you could franchise your business. You could, make a syllabus that you sell to other people with your classes. You could make a syllabus or kind of a program about how you run your studio and sell that. You could kind of be a contractor and be an adjudicator for different competitions. You could teach for different special populations like the elderly or children in schools. I know some colleagues of mine have created businesses where they just teach dance exclusively to children in schools. So they'll go to all the different schools and do residencies. So that's a fantastic opportunity for dance instructors as well. Working as a choreographer is a big one. There's always a market for students who would like, fresh, creative, amazing choreography for competitions or conferences or recitals. And so that is a huge part of it. And then, of course, just being a dancer. A lot of my students do want to pursue that, and many have gone on to dance professionally in different avenues. I have a student in Victoria who does auditions all over Europe, and she's currently dancing for a company in Vancouver, but she has auditioned all over the world. So there's a lot of different opportunities in the industry. Okay, so work-life balance, it's as a small business owner, you're kind of your own boss, which is great if you are good at kind of managing yourself and being self-motivated, like I touched on earlier. It can offer great flexibility. So for me, I have found after working for someone else, which was amazing, I found I really enjoy working for myself because I like to be my own boss and I like to set my own hours. And like I can work if I'm up early, I can get up and, hammer out all my emails super early, or I can finish them at 10 p.m., and as a mom, it's really, really nice that I can be flexible and kind of spend the daytime hours with my kids and then work when they're sleeping. So it's definitely tiring because when they're sleeping, I kind of want to also go to bed, but it's nice that I can still have that flexibility. And like I said, I do have staff who are amazing. And I've learned over the years to delegate, especially when I had my first daughter, Kaya. I learned to kind of pass things on that I don't need to do. And that's really been huge for me, is passing on different tasks and kind of training my staff um, along the way to help me out. And yeah, as a business owner, I'm able to work from home mostly on the business side of things. Especially now that I have a newborn, I don't go into the studio as often. I have somebody manning the front desk every night and on Saturdays whenever the studio is open. So I don't necessarily have to be there all the time, which is fantastic. And then now that I have a newborn, I'm not teaching any of the older classes at all. I have my staff covering all the classes this year, so I can kind of just focus on running the business and on my family, which is really nice. Okay, I guess that brings us to the end. I hope I wasn't talking super fast, but if there are any questions, just let me know.
Well, that was excellent. That was excellent, Kayla. I got a couple questions, a couple
Sure.
comments too. I kind of think, to summarize, I think you heard you say, like, I really love how you've incorporated, I wrote it down here, your passion, your personality, and your values into your career, because I think in any career, those are really important parts of it. And you've been able to foster that. And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
I think you've taken something that you were always passionate about and made it work for you. I don't think if you're
Absolutely.
passionate, it doesn't seem like work sometimes, I don't think.
That's 100% true. And yeah, I would encourage people if they do have, something that they're talented in and passionate about, like pursue it, go for it.
Yeah, that's excellent. Was it scary setting up your own business? Like, was that like that risk taking? It sounded like your husband was a strong promoter and supported that. But was it a
Yeah,
big step?
it was a big step, just I think mentally more than anything, because like I had the skills, I had everything necessary. It just was more a mental block. And so just having him say, like, why not?
Yeah.
Go for it, right? Just having that kind of support and knowing he was going to back me up and encourage me along the way, yeah, it really helped. But I think it was more a mental thing for sure, just kind of getting over that fear.
I have to comment about the mountain view.
Yeah,
Yes. No,
was I right?
well, yeah, exactly right. But I just assumed, oh, you're in Cochrane Mountain View. That's
Yeah,
look out your window and see the mountain anytime. I figured that's exactly where the name came from. It kind of suited the location. But I
yeah,
figured, yeah, you lived on Mountain View Crescent, and your
yeah.
parents there are in a rural municipality of Mountain View.
That's what it is, rural municipality. I couldn't think, I was like, I don't think it's county, but yeah.
Yeah, the Saskatchewan version of that. Yeah, but it's kind of funny because for those that are watching this, there's not a mountain to be seen anywhere
I
near.
know, isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never connected the dots there.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of full circle. I love how it's like, yeah, it's just part of my roots too.
It's a fitting name for your roots and where you are today too. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
Just another question. I know you may have mentioned this, but I'm not sure. Like at your studio, do you have all the different instructors? Do you teach all the different types of dance? I mean, I know you're training mostly in ballet,
Yeah,
but you teach jazz and tap and all of that too?
we do. So at my studio, we do a lot of ballet. We have hip hop, acro, and lyrical, contemporary, and we did have tap. We have an adult tap class, but tap kind of has really phased out at my studio. Just, I
Oh,
think it's kind of, I don't know if it's just not in right now. Like
yeah.
kids just really aren't into it for whatever reason. And jazz as well is kind of morphing into lyrical and contemporary. So we've kind of phased it out a little bit. Um, but yeah, we do have all the different styles, and my instructors, a lot of them are trained in the other styles. So I have some girls who are really talented in hip hop and lyrical and contemporary.
So some
Um,
instructors teach one, some teach
yeah.
some other stuff. Yeah, I see. Okay. Burnett, Gord, did you have any questions?
Um, no, this was very well done. You touched on just about every topic that, I would have wanted some explanation about. And you're talking to a former dance mom, so I understand the work that goes into,
Oh, nice.
into the training of the and just the preparing for the competitions or so forth. So
Yeah.
we're good here. Thank you so much. It was an awesome presentation.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Kayla. And I think we'll stop at that point.